God bless everybody today. It's January 30th of 2024. Things are escalating, and once this attack from US on Iran and its proxies occurs, your world will change again. This will accelerate everything. So I wanted to bring this to your attention. This will be a game changer. Joe Biden finally has reached a decision on response to the drone attack that killed 3 people in Jordan that are American troops. There was another 34 people injured, I believe. And Joe Biden says that he now has made his decision on what he's going to do about this. But as Joe Biden always does, he does the wrong thing. And when Joe Biden does this launch, he's going to do exactly probably what he shouldn't have done, and it's going to escalate this war with Iran. So what you need to be concerned about is the extent of the attacks that we do to Iran, how many positions they hit, and the severity of the attacks themselves, and whether or not we actually attack inside Iran. Now, I don't know if Joe Biden will actually attack inside Iran. I think they will do everything possible to stay out of that, to stop the escalation of a regional war, which he's basically stating here. But as you know, this is escalating and it's not going to quit. And so Joe he's basically got a back against the wall. He hasn't been doing what's required to stop this to begin with. He's blaming Iran and everybody else, Republicans and whatever, because he hasn't reacted to anything in over 3 years that the Iranians have been doing. We've had over 160 attacks on our bases with 8 retaliatory strikes, and we haven't done anything. So they've been emboldened to do just what they're doing right now. This will escalate the war. This could happen tonight. They're going to attack soon, probably within the next 24 hours. It could be one major attack, or it could be a tiered attack that does multiple targets over multiple days. And then you will have a retaliatory strike and response from Iran and its proxies. Now, Iran controls many proxies out here. So if the Americans come in and do a massive bombing on these locations, try to remove some of these threats to our soldiers, would then that allow Iran to say, look, Hezbollah, it's your green light to go in. It's your time to do something. You know, actually, January 30, we talked about this date. At one time, I considered this to be a 6-seal event. Maybe it will be in some respects, in the sense that Iran will unlaunch a nightmare over there on the Middle East, which will accelerate this whole process. And then there'll be a retaliatory strike that just brings us deeper into this war. And then on top of that, we had that article the other day about how they're possibly going to pull us out of here. So we could literally launch a destructive attack on these areas, have a retaliatory strike on us, and then possibly even just pack up and leave the area, and then create that vacuum that Turkey's going to suck up here someday. We'll see how that turns out for Mr. Biden. So we're going to see something happen soon. It's going to happen probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. And Iran will do a response on this, and they will probably bring in all of the weapons and proxies, because this won't be a normal attack. It won't be, it'll be sort of like against the Houthis, where they went in and hit multiple targets and different things like that in Yemen. This will be potentially against targets in Syria, Iraq, and all the other areas around Iran, but not necessarily in Iran. They may try to take out some leaders or high value targets. And so that's something else that could happen. Depending on who they remove and eliminate, that would then cause Iran all kinds of problems, and they would do a retaliatory strike to the same extent as what we did to them, or greater. And I'm pretty sure Iran is trying to decide right now what they're going to do depending on the extent of destruction that the United States does on them and their proxies. Okay? So they're sitting back right now looking at this situation going, depending on the strike, if it's inside our borders or if it's outside of our borders, depending on how many targets you hit, how much destruction you cause, how many deaths you create, how many leaders you take out, we will then have to respond to you because we're not afraid of you, United States, anymore. And then on top of that, you funded all this stuff to us. So we're going to use your own weapons against, that's the one bad thing is, I don't know where the drone came from that killed our guys, but, we're funneling all these weapons to these bad players like Iran here. And we've been doing this for years. Obama sent pallets of money over there so that they could fortify and do all these things. There's just a lot going on here, guys, but realize this one could change your world soon. Joe Biden, the angry man, has finally decided to do something, and it's probably going to turn out bad. So just realize that when we get into these types of things in the end days, that probably all the decisions out here are going to be tremendously terrible, and it's going to affect all of us on the ground. So I just want you to realize that probably within the next week or two, we actually originally talked about between January 6th and February 5th that this was going to be just a nightmare out here, and I talked about that in a number of videos. Those numbers adjusted a little once we figured out when the continual burn offerings were stopped and how that moved us into this phase we're in now. And so, the paradigm and everything seems to be playing out in front of us here. It may not be exact, but I'll tell you, it's amazing how we seem to be lining up in these specific areas of time, and destruction is coming upon us as this is unfolding is incredible. So let's watch between now and February 5th, because was my original window that I had brought up between January 6th and February 5th. So maybe this is coming to fruition. So be safe out there, folks. This one will change everything. Once we light up Iran and its proxies, this one will come back to bite us, because Iran is not scared of us and they already have a plan. But the one I'm concerned about in this is they could unleash Hezbollah, and you could see that invasion that I was talking about in Israel. God bless. Have a great night.